Hello, this is Brian Newman and welcome back to 5G Brio. As you may have heard, the auction for the 5G wireless spectrum in India has ended, and wireless carriers are getting ready to launch. Let's discuss the results and the impact. India's 5G spectrum auction completed with over $18.99 billion being sold to the country's three largest mobile network carriers. This was the highest bid for the country's mobile wireless spectrum ever. Here's a rundown on who bid and what they won. Reliance Jio was the top bidder and is India's largest service provider. They spent $11.15 billion on 700 MHz, 800 MHz, 1800 MHz, and 3300 MHz, as well as 26 GHz spectrum. Jio also secured the right to use 1000 MHz in the millimeter wave band in each of 22 circles or service areas. Bharti Airtel, India's second largest provider, spent $5.45 billion on the spectrum. Airtel avoided 700 MHz, and the high reserve price kept the band unsold in two auctions. The corporation also bought 900 MHz, 1800 MHz, and 21 MHz spectrum. All 22 circles that they have are 3300 MHz spectrum. Vodafone Idea spent $2.37 billion. The business targeted 33 MHz and 26 GHz frequencies. The company acquired a mid-band spectrum, 33 MHz, in 17 priority circles, and millimeter wave 5G spectrum in 16 circles or service areas. Finally, the Adani Group spent the least amount, just $26.84 million, to acquire the 400 MHz spectrum that they needed. The company will use this primarily for building private 5G networks around ports, campuses, and other large enterprises. 5G should cover most of India within the next 2 to 3 years, and the largest 13 cities in India will see 5G this year. Jio and Airtel are expected to launch first, and all carriers should have parts of their network operational by mid-October. India has some of the brightest and most hardworking software developers and programmers in the world. They are the brains of the software code behind the networks that run wireless carriers' operations across much of the Western world. Despite just beginning with 5G in India, software engineers, architects, designers, and programmers from the country have been employed and assigned to develop 5G networks in the US and Europe by all major carriers. That experience has given these men and women unparalleled access to knowledge and expertise in building connectivity and transport from the edge to the core of a 5G network. Another point to consider is that 5G is indeed software-centric, and software is organized in layers that focus on specific components or functions. Network functions in 5G will be containerized software that will be instantiated on private or public clouds in the carrier's network. Telecom carriers will use container orchestration via Kubernetes to scale up and down as demand changes and network conditions demand. Everything from the radio access network to the 5G core will run as software by Indian telecom operators. Highly skilled Indian software developers and entrepreneurs will comprehend and apply the capabilities of high bandwidth, low latency networks, resulting in operational networks that are more reliable and delivered sooner. They've gained all this expertise by working with Western carriers. In summary, India already has the expertise, the knowledge, and the experience to make 5G successful and ingrained into that country's business and consumer industries. With wireless spectrum now secured, Indian carriers must put the equipment in place to make it happen soon. If this video was helpful to you, consider hitting the like button. If you want to receive more videos and my insights into 5G, subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate your comments and feedback as well. Thank you.